The ongoing Dakota Access Pipeline protests are just another incarnation of the Occupy Wall Street movement. I'm going to show you how they're linked through organizations, people, and even the tactics they're using. The DAPL is a $3.8 billion pipeline scheduled to carry crude oil nearly 2,000 kilometers from North Dakota to Illinois. The construction is nearly complete except for one part, just the part of the project that crosses under the Missouri River. It's been a source of contention for months now. The Standing Rock Sioux say it passes within a kilometer or two of their reservation and may compromise their water. The pipeline crosses land already crisscrossed by dozens of pipelines. There were 559 meetings held between the Aboriginal band, local communities, and the company building the pipeline, and everything was fine until the protests started. Now construction's been halted and the construction permit has been revoked. So why all the protests? Well, because the protests are AstroTurf, the DAPL protests are actually just the third incarnation of the George Soros-backed socioeconomic disruption efforts that began with Occupy Wall Street. The second incarnation was, of course, Black Lives Matters. This time, along with going full anti-fossil fuels, anti-capitalism, and anti-racism, they've also incorporated parts of the Aboriginal anti-colonialist movement from a few years back called Idle No More. But it's not about the land or Aboriginal rights or the water or even the environment. It's about the left pretending to care about those things in order to destroy Western civilization and then rebuild it in the way that they see fit. It's just another mini Marxist revolution brought to you by globalist puppet masters. All we have to do is look at the people at the DAPL protests. The protesters are getting paid. A Craigslist ad looking for protesters read, "If you are BLM or anti-Trump, you will also get paid to join my protest. Just tonight, we shut down the Veterans Bridge. Get involved, people. Save Mother Earth." So who's paying these people? There are speculations that George Soros somehow is. We know lawyers working for the environmental lawfare organization Earth Justice are filing lawsuits to stop the pipeline on behalf of the Aboriginal tribe. And Soros funds Earth Justice. And we know that Earth Justice was at Occupy Oakland using the same tactics, tying fake claims of police brutality to protecting the environment somehow. And we do know that wind farm companies gave the Standing Rock Reservation $375,000 in donations while they were protesting the Dakota Access Pipeline. Now, what about all the bad actors? Who is really there in North Dakota? Well, we know that environmentalists, stupid celebrities, and activists have flooded in from all across the continent, including foreign meddling Canadian First Nations chiefs like Chief Kevin Hart, who went all the way to Marrakesh, Morocco, to bash Canada on Canada's dime at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, and then he ran away when he was confronted by me. But there are Occupy organizers on the ground in North Dakota, like Lisa Fithian. She was a hired activist trainer and the director of street operations for Occupy Wall Street. She's been arrested at the DAPL protests. I even found her arrest record for trespassing when she was arrested in November. And Fithian doesn't work cheap. She charges a pricey per diem to organize, close to $1,000 per day. Being a Marxist organizer is good work if you can get it. But because she charges so much, we know someone with deep pockets has paid to bring her in. Now let's look at some of the tactics. There are the same professional protest tactics happening right now in North Dakota that happened at Occupy Wall Street. These guys are being trained well by leftist godmother Lisa Fithian. There are the flagrant violations of property rights, but by the protesters and not the police, while the inverse is what's being portrayed in the media. Just like Occupy, while protesters squatted in parks and ruined public and private property all across North America, they decried the police clearing out their camps as a violation of their property rights. It's completely upside down. There are the attempts to make the police appear excessively brutal to the media and to paint the protesters as innocent victims. We've heard over and over again about the women and children being detained and that dogs were used to move protesters off private property at the DAPL protests, while never hearing what the protesters have done to the police. Police have been shot at. They've had Molotov cocktails, rocks, sticks, bottles, cans, and feces thrown at them. They've even had buffalo stampeded at them. They've been spit on and verbally abused. Minus the buffalo, this is exactly what happened at Occupy encampments all across the continent. The media shows the big mean police being mean, not the police doing their jobs and enforcing the law in the middle of a riot situation and keeping local residents safe from violent arsonists trespassing out-of-state invaders. Just like Occupy Oakland riots, the protesters are getting increasingly violent in hopes that the police overreact. Police have just recently used water cannons to clear out protesters, but what you won't hear is that the cops were using water cannons because there were arson fires set by the protesters. You'll hear that a woman named Sophia Wolanski was injured in an explosion during a confrontation with police, and she may lose her arm. The protesters say Wolanski was hit in the arm with a concussion grenade launched by police. And that's the story the media ran with. That's the story you'll see all over your Facebook. But what you won't hear is that a young woman in the exact same place at the exact same time was injured trying to plant bombs, but we conveniently don't know who that woman is. But we do know now that the same injured protester, Sophia Wolanski, has had the clothing she wore that day confiscated by the Joint Terrorism Task Force as part of their ongoing investigations into the bombings that day. And there's the hypocrisy. The DAPL protesters are having propane trucked into them to keep them warm while protesting a fossil fuel pipeline. It's just like all those filthy little occupiers on their iPhones crying in their filthy little squat camps about evil corporatism. While the mainstream media is busy warning everyone to be wary of fake news, maybe they could take some time to tell the full story. What's happening at DAPL isn't just a pipeline protest or environmental activism. It's part of the global Marxist movement to undermine Western civilization. DAPL is Occupy all over again. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunreed. Have you heard about our big plan? We're going to be bigger and more important than the CBC. If you want to help us, go to thebigplan.ca to donate today.